origin of the Hound of the Baskervilles, there have been many statements. Yet, as I come in a direct line from Hugo Baskerville, and as I had the story from my own father as he had it from his, I have set it down with all belief that it occurred, even as is here set forth.
He's still not back, Dr. Mortimer. No sign of him from the upstairs window, neither.
You shouldn't have allowed him to go, Perkins.
It's not my place to stop Sir Henry if he wants to go out.
He doesn't know the moor as we do. You know how treacherous it can be.
Oh, indeed I do, sir. Only yesterday, another pony went under the mud at Brompton Mire.
A false step there is sure death.
Anyhow, Barrymore's gone to fetch him back.
Good. I'm expecting a Dr. Watson and a Mr. Holmes shortly. Show them in the minute they arrive.
Yes, sir, yes, sir. Oh, will you be having tea, sir?
Yes, for 4. Sir Henry will be joining us, I trust.
Very good.
Ah, there you are, Dr. Mortimer. Not late, am I?
Oh, you never know how things play out in your presence, Dr. Watson. Where is Mr. Holmes?
He'll be along shortly. I hope you won't take offense, but you did sound distraught when you called. Not like you at all. If there's one thing I recall from our days together at the hospital, it's that you've got nerves of steel and a disposition to match.
Thank you, Watson. And I appreciate that. To tell the truth, I have been on edge. Desperate, some might say.
Desperate?
When I heard that you and Sherlock Holmes were visiting nearby, I wasted no time getting in touch. I'm looking forward to meeting the famous detective.
And so you shall, Dr. Mortimer.
Very great pleasure for me, Mr. Holmes.
Yes, yes, very kind of you to say so. I trust you enjoyed your walk around the excavations at Grimpen Mire. South section, I believe.
How do you know I've been there?
Well, you left your walking stick outside. The tip is coated with a reddish clay. It's only found in that area.
You live up to your reputation.
Yes. Judging from the consistency of the clay, I say you've been there within the last 3 hours.
Oh, bravo.
I'd be careful to take your schnauzer there, though. They have a tendency to move impulsively.
How do you even know I have a dog?
Yes. Teeth marks on the walking stick. It's obvious that the dog is in the habit of carrying it from time to time. The jaw, as indicated by the space between the marks, is not large. That, and this tuft of silver grey hair, leads me to surmise miniature. Now.
You really are a calculating machine, Holmes. There's something positively inhuman about you at times.
Amazing.
Elementary.
You said you needed our help.
I do.
I trust that your request has some way to deal with the recent demise of Sir Charles Baskerville.
Yes, he was an elderly man, over 80 years of age.
London papers said it was a heart attack.
But you suspect foul play.
What makes you say that?
Well, you had hardly called upon our services had the situation not been grave.
I've always considered myself a rational man, and Watson can vouch for that.
Absolutely.
I've never taken the occult seriously.
The occult?
Perhaps this will explain.
Yes. Early 18th century, unless it's a forgery.
It's no forgery.
What is it?
I'm not unfamiliar with the contents, Watson. Reports to describe the origin of the curse of the Baskervilles.
Curse?
Come, Watson, common knowledge.
Maybe common knowledge to you, but not to me.
Oh, yes. Here it is, 1742. Sir Hugo Baskerville was a villain. Coarse man, given to the excesses of intemperance and rage. Came to love a village girl, if that word could be used to describe his sort. He kept her prisoner. Kidnapped her. Kept her in this very house. While, night after night, he and his companions reveled below, likely in this very room.
Oh, he has much to answer for.
Yes. One night, with the aid of the stout ivy outside her window, the village girl made her escape.
Good for her.
There's more to it than that, Watson. Sir Hugo gave chase over the moor. His companions and drink closely at his heels. He outdistanced them. It was there on the moor, Sir Hugo's companions found him by two great stones.
You can see them through the windows. They mark the door to some long-forgotten temple.
I've seen them before. Frightening things in the moonlight.
Yes. When they came to the spot, they discovered Sir Hugo and the village girl. Dead, she was, from fear and fatigue.
And so Hugo?
By her side, as I mentioned, dead as well. But that's not what terrified his companions.
What did?
Here, read for yourself.
And, plucking at his throat, there stood a foul thing. A great black beast, shaped like a hound, yet larger than any hound that any ever mortal eye had rested upon. And even as they looked on, the thing tore the throat out of Sir Hugo Baskerville.
Many in the family have been unlucky in their deaths. Sudden, bloody, mysterious.
Surely you don't believe this mumbo-jumbo?
It's obvious that the Baskervilles who wrote it did. I counsel you by way of forbearance, not to cross the moor on those dark hours when the powers of evil are exalted.
Powers of evil indeed. It's a fairy tale.
Sir Charles believed in a curse.
Yes, as I recall, he was only in residence here a few years.
That is correct. His business affairs, mostly those in South Africa, kept him away.
Ah. And who looked after Baskerville Hall?
The Barrymores, a married couple. He acted as butler, she as housekeeper.
Still in service here?
Oh, yes. It was Barrymore who found the body. It was Sir Charles's habit each night to take a walk before retiring.
And never over the moor?
Oh, never.
Because of that silly legend.
Watson, please. What about Ducati?
The night of his death, Sir Charles took a walk as usual. He never returned.
No sign of violence on the body?
None.
At his advanced age, he probably passed on from cardiac exhaustion.
Exactly.
Who performed the police autopsy?
I did.
Coroner's jury accepted your medical evidence?
There was no reason not to.
Mortimer, it's not what you're saying that interests me, rather what you're not saying.
If I didn't know you were a private investigator, I'd suspect you of being a psychic.
Why not come directly to the point?
I believe that Sir Charles was frightened to death.
Proof!
Over the last few months, it became increasingly plain to me that Sir Charles's nervous system was strained to the breaking point.
I ask for proof, facts!
Well, there was one false statement made by Barrymore at the inquest.
Oh?
He said there were no tracks found around the body.
Yes, but you said false statement.
Well, my motive for not telling the coroner about this is that a person of science shrinks before seeming to endorse a popular superstition.
So in other words, you did see footprints?
Yes, a distance off but fresh and clear.
Why conceal the facts?
I've given you my reason already.
Footprints, a man's or a woman's?
They were the footprints of a gigantic hound.
Beg pardon, Doctor. It's Sir Henry. I saw him from the upstairs window. He's cutting across the moor now.
Oh, thank heaven!
I take it you're the housekeeper?
Yes, sir. Mrs. Barrymore.
How long have you been in service here at Baskerville Hall?
It's quite all right, Mrs. Barrymore. This is Mr. Sherlock Holmes.
I've been in service here most of my life.
So you know the moor?
I grew up on the moor, Mr. Holmes.
Mrs. Barrymore and her husband know Baskerville Hall better than anyone else in the county.
If you have no other questions, I'll see to my duties.
No further questions at this time. Remarkably eerie woman. That reminds me, Amy Smalls, noted axe murderers of Charing Cross.
Ah, I see you've lured them in here, Mortimer.
Henry, you mustn't go wandering around the grounds until you know the place better.
Nonsense. I stuck to the paths and the light was excellent. I was visiting with Beryl. How do you do, Mr. Holmes? Dr. Watson?
Sir Henry.
I take it from the timbre of your accent you've spent some time in America, Sir Henry.
The States and Canada. I would have still remained had it not been for my uncle's death.
Surely you don't believe the balderdash that Mortimer's been spouting? Beg your pardon?
Watson has never been known for a great deal of tact. However, do you share Mortimer's doubts about the death of your uncle?
I haven't made up my mind yet.
Show him the letter.
Letter?
This arrived one morning outside my London hotel.
Words cut from the London Times and gummed to the paper.
Rather an old-fashioned gambit, eh, Holmes?
Arsenic is old-fashioned too, Watson, but it does the trick.
How can you tell it's the time?
Well, the Times print is completely distinctive. There can be no other source. As you value your life and reason, keep away from the moor.
Nothing supernatural about that.
It may have been written by someone who thought that Sir Henry's death was unearthly. Who? Someone trying to frighten Sir Henry from Baskervilles Hall. No envelope, no stamp.
No, I found it tucked under the door of my hotel room.
You plan to remain in residence here, Sir Henry?
There's no man on earth or devil in hell who can remove me from my own home.
Take that as your final answer. Absolutely. Then you did well to call upon our services.
May I keep the letter?
Certainly.
Mortimer, were there anything else around the body?
Yes, actually. There was the stub of Sir Charles's cigar. 2 stubs, actually, and a great deal of cigar ash.
2 stubs. Curious. I take it there's no other claimant to the estate?
Well, there were 3 brothers. Sir Charles was the eldest. The second died young.
That was my father.
And the third?
That would be Roger Baskerville. Black sheep fled to Central America and died of some tropical illness.
And supposing something were to happen to our young friend here, please excuse the unpleasant hypothetical, who would then inherit?
Gruesome thought. Well, Roger Baskerville died unmarried, so the estate would pass to James Desmond.
A distant cousin.
Is there any other kind?
Watson, please!
He's a clergyman in the nearby village of Tracy Coombs.
Who profited from Sir Charles' will?
Well, there were many insignificant sums to individuals and a large number of charities.
He was a generous man. The Barrymores each received £5,000.
He was generous.
Did they know they would receive such sums?
Sir Charles was fond of talking about the provisions of his will.
Unwise.
I hope you won't suspect everyone who profited. After all, Sir Charles left me £10,000.
Good gracious. Sorry.
You will take the case, Mr. Holmes.
Yes, but I'm due in Brighton sometime tomorrow. Then I must spend a few days in London. In the meantime, Sir Henry, I shall leave Watson here to look after you.
Whatever you think best.
Yes, please follow her advice. I trust her explicitly. Now, Watson, you will communicate anything of interest to me while in London.
You can depend on it.
Excellent. Sir Henry, on this one point, I must demand complete fidelity.
Certainly.
Under no circumstances must you venture onto the moor at night. I cannot impress the importance of this more clearly.
And so you do believe the legend?
Watson, you understand?
I do.
There's something in the air that disturbs me.
In the air, Mr. Holmes? What's in the air?
The scent of murder, Sir Henry. Murder.